Hi, I'm Bill Dennison, and I'm going to talk about synthesizing Belmont Forum projects. And we did this initially with Freshwater Security and Coastal Vulnerability Project, about a dozen projects in those two themes. First of all, we need to talk about this effort is to meet this grand challenge, the Belmont Challenge. And that would initiate this launching of the transdisciplinary transnational research program that's run by the Belmont Forum. The Belmont Challenge is given here as to deliver knowledge needed for action to avoid and adapt to detrimental environmental change, including extreme hazardous events. And the Belmont Forum is set up to deliver knowledge to support human action and adaptation to global environmental change. So what we did is we piggybacked onto the American Geophysical annual meeting in San Francisco in December 2016 for a synthesis workshop, and we had partnered with Future Earth Coast and with my team from the University of Maryland Center for Environmental Science, specifically the Integration and Application Network. So we had Shona Patterson from Future Earth Coast, Vanessa Vargas, and me, and Heath Kelsey from the Integration and Application Network, and Martin Letizier from the Future Earth Coast, facilitating the workshop in San Francisco. At the workshop, we had two major objectives. We had the objective to answer some key questions, and those questions were: how did the Belmont Forum affect or enable the project outcomes? And secondly, how well did the constellation of projects in freshwater security and coastal vulnerability address this grand Belmont challenge? And then our second objective was to co-design and co-produce workshop synthesis, which we'll identify in a minute. So before the workshop, we used that opportunity to do a fairly extensive workshop, pre-workshop survey, and we asked some questions. This is just a smattering of sample questions. Did you receive matching funds? The answer was overwhelmingly yes. People were able to leverage Belmont Forum funds and get more funding for these projects. Second, did you create new partnerships? Well, that was balanced. In 60% of the cases, yes, new partners were created, but a lot of people used the existing partnerships and piggybacked off of those. We asked a couple questions about, would you be interested in future Belmont Forum activities after this experience? And that was overwhelmingly a yes. And could the Belmont Forum process be improved? Again, a strong yes. We saw that as one of the reasons for the synthesis workshop, to figure out how to make the Belmont Forum more effective. We had wide participation. Each of these groups was transnational. So we had a group called Artistic and Band-Aid and Deltas and Driver and Future Agua. We had Gulls and JWP and Magic and Metropole and the TLSCC and the Truck Group. We had the funders participated from the Belmont Forum, from the British Natural Environment Research Council and the U.S. National Science Foundation, and we had the facilitation, as I mentioned earlier. Look at this map, this global map. It's very impressive that this first call of the dozen projects span the entire globe. We had projects in North America, South America, Africa, Europe, Asia, and Australia. We had many different countries. We had some very large areas as well that were part of the transnational studies. We asked them to, first of all, through that survey, we generated a word cloud just based on all the responses together. And one of the things we saw as some themes jumped out at us: vulnerability and adaptations and risk and water were common themes. It makes sense given coastal vulnerability and freshwater resources that you'd have these kind of terms coming up. We also saw management and transdisciplinary and interdisciplinary come up very often, sustainability. We also asked each of the project leads to come up with key words and phrases to identify the aspects of their projects to help communicate to the other projects, because this is the first time these groups had ever gotten together. One of the tasks we set upon was to create project summaries using a template called the and, but, therefore template. In this template, you have statements that are connected with an and to set it up, but, which creates tension, and then it's resolved through a therefore statement. And so they made these and but therefore quick summaries, and then added graphics which included maps, diagrams, and photographs to illustrate each of these projects. We also had them draw their projects, and we used an interactive game we call Conceptionary to get people's creative juices flowing, and then they followed up with, in this case, Deltas and Driver started putting their project in a graphical form, and you started to see the blending of social and natural science through their diagrams. So we also then took this dozen separate transnational, transdisciplinary projects and tried to identify some common themes. We came up with 6 common themes that all these projects felt strongly about. One was in terms of content, that it was really important to frame the project mindsets from the beginning, and that's about getting the participants, the researchers and the stakeholders working together and co-designing, which involved the stakeholders from the get-go. We identified next steps and gaps in all the projects, and I think the conclusion was 3 years is a great beginning, but these projects, to be really effective, had to be thinking in a longer time frame. The transdisciplinary benefits were really understanding why you're doing the research, and that was probably the most important and compelling thing. In terms of achievements, really moving that knowledge needle. That's with those knowledge partnerships that the stakeholders and researchers started to form. And then in terms of transdisciplinary challenges, is pushing these boundaries. We're seeing that the traditional disciplinary boundaries and academia versus practitioner boundaries needed to be pushed. One of the things that came out was very gratifying is that when we looked across all the projects, what we did is we designed a synthetic diagram that spoke to all the projects, and that was that you bring the stakeholders in with their values and priorities, and the scientists with their tools and their expertise, and you co-design these projects, and then you develop a set of innovative tools, and the tools include stakeholder engagement tools, workshops and interviews, and then scientific tools like remote sensing and geographic information systems, and then you can generate these co-produce these project outputs, which include peer-reviewed science papers, but also white papers and internet tools. And then through this knowledge exchange, you start developing implementation into management, policy, and decision making. Now, one of the problems with this that was noted throughout the projects is that you could initiate this, but that was an ongoing, longer-term process than typically in a 3-year funded project. So the recommendations that this group made on reflection, there's 7 of these, are identified here. First, the recommendation is to promote that the project leads and participants promote this transdisciplinary approach within their institutions and within their colleagues. And that we go beyond identifying the problems, but start to specify the solutions. And then one of the recommendations is to do more evaluation, and that's usually setting up from the beginning and tracking that throughout. The effectiveness of the process as well as the outcome. And then to facilitate data accessibility, interoperability, data exchange, networking. Establish communication pathways, and that's particularly important to get information into the decision makers, and then use good science communication dissemination techniques to follow those pathways into the implementation phases. And then finally, to coordinate professional training. Most of the participants felt like since they hadn't been trained in these various transdisciplinary aspects, that they felt like they could use more training. So we disseminated these workshop findings through a series of blogs, including the words to our songs that we generated in the workshop, and including an 8-page, it started out as a 4-page, it blew up into an 8-page booklet, which is available on the Belmont Forum website, as well as the Integration Application Network website. So what's for the future? Well, we found that this was a a very worthwhile but expensive exercise, expensive in terms of travel and time. So we're going to try this out on the next series of projects in the biodiversity using multiple days virtual workshop. Instead of flying everybody to one location, we're going to use interactive video conferencing, do the pre-workshop survey, use some pre-viewed YouTube videos just like this one, and then co-develop a workshop synthesis product like we did the first time. So we're going to look forward to doing this so that in the future we can be getting better iteratively in delivering good science and good research to support implementation to answer the grand Belmont challenge. Thanks very much.